Chapter 16. Tension. The week couldn't have gone slower for the filly. Wishing her will alone could cause time to fast forward to the following week, where her sister, and additionally her sort of sister, were going to give a Wonderbolt's presentation to the entirety of the school. Slowest week ever. But alas, the week did eventually come to an end, along with the weekend that came afterwards. With that, the day of the presentation would finally come around, and Little Wing's excitement was present but adequately contained. Eee! Little Wing squeed as she made her way into the junior flight school, bouncing in a way that would make Pinkie Pie proud. There were many students around, going about their usual mornings as they did each and every single other day. There was, however, a steady stream of fillies and colts heading in the direction of the main assembly hall. Raymondash's presentation was going to kickstart the school day. Misty Gust, who was accompanying Little Wing, only just resisted a roll of her eyes.
Come on, Wing, you see her all the time. Not all the time,
Little Wing rebuked, stopping her bouncing and beginning to walk alongside her friend like a normal pony.
I haven't seen her in a little while. She lives in Ponyville. It's been even longer since Scootaloo came to visit. Did you see her before school?
Misty asked. Little Wing shook her head.
Nah. Mom and Dad said she's busy setting everything up. I'm sure we'll hang out after school, though. Can I come?
Misty asked hopefully.
Of course,
Little Wing confirmed, laughing lightly.
Why wouldn't you? I'm not your sister,
she pointed out. Little Wing shrugged.
Oh, pff, you're my best friend. Practically the same thing. Not really.
Pff, Little Wing said as her retort, waving a hoof of dismissal towards Misty's remark.
Besides, who else would I bring? Silver Breeze?
Misty visibly shuddered.
Why would you even consider that? I'm not,
she responded, but tapped a hoof to her chin in thought.
Though I'd like to see him try something in front of Dash.
Misty Gust giggled behind a hoof.
I don't think he'd be brave enough. Who knows?
Little Wing remarked.
I think he would. He's just mean. Yeah, I guess so,
Misty conceded.
Remember when he said he'd face down one of those big things from that scary-looking airship? That was 3 years ago, and he was just one,
Little Wing pointed out, not hiding her disdain for the colt's tail.
All I remember was being locked up for a couple days in the house. I don't really remember anything about all that,
Misty admitted.
Just that it was kind of scary. Yeah, it was,
Little Wing agreed.
But Raymond beat them up. She told me this story like 1,000 times. I bet she exaggerates.
Little Wing puffed up her cheeks.
She does not. There was the sea ponies and the cat person and...
Misty looked unconvinced.
If you say so, Wing. I do say so,
Little Wing countered.
So, there. Well, I suppose we could ask,
Misty noted, pointing one of her small hooves at the entrance to the assembly hall. Several teachers stood at the entrance, ensuring that all of the school's students were being admitted in a neat and timely manner. They corralled the little ponies into a single-file line, scolding those who tried to push and shove their way inside. Little Wing and Misty Gust placed themselves at the back of a queue, a few more students then piling on behind them. The wait was rather grueling for the many young, energetic, and easily bored colts and fillies, but steadily the line did move on forwards. And both Little Wing and Misty Gust themselves were eventually admitted. A few more teachers guided the pair to one of the middle rows, systematically filling up the seats one by one. Little Wing had to straighten herself up to the limit in order to see completely above the heads of some of the taller fillies and colts, but found a comfortable enough view. Even if she would have preferred front row seats, but what could you do? It took a little while longer to fill up the entirety of the vast assembly hall, but the rest of the school trickling in and taking their seats. The noise within was almost deafening, the fillies and colts chatting amongst themselves to pass the time away while waiting the start of the talk. Little Wing and Misty Gust were among them, just talking about whatever came to mind while waiting. Some of the talking did die down when the last students filed in and the doors to the assembly hall were closed behind them, the teachers lining the outskirts of the hall. Some chatter remained, however, only dying off completely when the headmaster demanded it through the microphone installed upon the forward stage. With the general chattering at an end, he could finally speak.
Right. Well then, students, the headmaster began. Welcome to yet another school day, and one which beholds to all of you a very special guest. We have a member of the Wonderbolts coming to speak to you all, along with another Pegasus whom she is mentoring.
Little Wing grinned.
What's more, this Wonderbolt is among Princess Twilight Sparkle's inner circle, a bearer of harmony who has been involved in many recent historic events in this busy era,
he announced, then stopping to the podium's side while gesturing a hoof off to one of the stage's entrances.
So, please put your hooves together for Rainbow Dash.
General applause rolled throughout the stadium. The stallion on stage, standing there rather awkwardly as the mare he had been expecting, didn't so much as poke a head out of the side curtain. The applause died down as the children began to look around in confusion, or to laugh at the headmaster's predicament. The stallion in question lowered his hoof with a scowl on his face, about to go backstage and see what the holdup was, only for the entrance to the assembly hall to burst open as a prismatic blur streaked up and above the fillies and colts before doing a blatantly practiced superhero landing on the stage that Little Wing, having seen her practice once, couldn't help but roll her eyes, despite her glee. The applause erupted again, far more enthusiastic due to the children's enjoyment of the unexpected spectacle. The headmaster looked rather cross. While the applause was ongoing, an orange Pegasus also flew in through the doorway and casually glided her way to the stage. Scootaloo came into a landing next to Rainbow Dash, the latter of which was fully decked out in a Wonderbolt flight suit. Scootaloo gave a sheepish wave to the crowd, though it became a little more enthusiastic when she spotted Little Wing and her own joyful waving.
That's enough! I'll have silence in the assembly hall,
the headmaster commanded down the microphone.
That's enough excitement for a while.
Hey, at least they're paying attention now,
Rainbow Dash pointed out, confidently taking the podium herself.
You just gotta play it smooth and cool.
The headmaster grumbled something to himself, but departed the stage nevertheless, lest there be any more delays. With all of the attention on her, Rainbow Dash began to speak.
Well then, I'm pretty sure you fillies and colts should know me and Scoots by now, but in case you fell asleep...
Rainbow Dash glanced at a couple of colts she knew she had woken up with her, dramatic entrance. Putting that aside, she continued.
I'm Lieutenant Rainbow Dash of the EUP Wonderbolts, she announced to the crowd. I'm the element of loyalty, defeater of Nightmare Noon, Discord, etc., etc., and this here is Scootaloo.
On being gestured to, Scootaloo spoke up.
Yeah, hi. I'm Scootaloo, Rainbow Dash's protege and sort of adoptive sister at times. Speaking of little sisters, hiya, Little Wing.
More than a few eyes turned towards the Pegasus filly, who could feel herself go from gleeful to melting into her own seat from sheer embarrassment.
Yeah, you and Wing are both pretty great, Rainbow Dash agreed. But anyway, Scoots here is also one of the founders of the Cutie Mark Crusaders and their summer camp, which I bet some of you will have already attended. She's also definitely going to be the next Wonderbolt on the main team, and all at the age of 16. Not bad, huh? Reminds me of me. But better,
Scootaloo added with a smirk.
You always had big dreams, Scootaloo, Rainbow replied. But what's most important about Scootaloo here is, for a long time, she couldn't fly. It's true, Scootaloo confirmed. My wings have always been smaller. It was only a couple years ago that I managed it, but I've given it my all ever since.
A little hoof popped into the air. Rainbow Dash pointed towards the colt the hoof belonged to and motioned for him to ask his question.
Yeah, Miss Scootaloo, how did you manage to do that? Aside from the best flight instructor ever,
Rainbow Dash teased the younger Pegasus before adding,
and being plain awesome.
Scootaloo chuckled.
I think that can wait until the end, where we're, meant to take questions. First, the Wonderbolts. All right, Rainbow stated. Well, for any aspiring bolts out there, the first thing you ought to know is...
Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo had continued to talk about the Wonderbolts for the next hour, at the end finally stopping to take questions. Scootaloo had answered the initial colt first before they moved on to the plethora of hooves that had erupted forth afterwards. Little Wing herself had remained silent throughout the event, content on letting her elder sister talk and the other fillies and colts get answers to questions Little Wing had already mostly gotten the answers to. In the end, they had run slightly over their given time slot, and the headmaster had to come back onto the stage and conclude the presentation for the now rather annoyed Pegasus. Alas, she did depart after a final farewell equally dramatic to her entrance. And then Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo were gone. With that done, the teachers began to dismiss the gathered students, row by row, eventually reaching Little Wing and Misty Gust, who exited with the rest of the fillies and colts they had been seated next to. They then had a brief break before their first actual class of the day, Misty Gust deciding to head on out into the courtyard while Little Wing promised to catch up after getting a drink from the canteen. With that in mind, the two fillies briefly split up. Little Wing didn't want to keep her friend waiting long, so she half galloped towards the canteen and got her drink of apple juice from the dinner lady on duty. Task complete, she rushed back out again to join Misty Gust in the courtyard, only to find, when she got there, that Misty Gust had some unwanted company.
Bet you wish you had her as a sister, huh?
Silverbreeze commented snidely, some of his buddies standing a little ways behind the colt as he spoke to a silent Misty Gust.
Seeing as you're an only child, must be lonely. Is that why you actually hang out with her? Because you're lonely? She's my friend,
Misty quietly rebuked. Silverbreeze snorted.
Yeah, right. I bet she only hangs out with you because of pity. It's quite sad, actually, you poor little fool.
Little Wing, on all days, made a habit of avoiding Silverbreeze and refusing to respond to him. Now, though, her blood boiled to the temperature of Celestia's sun.
Hey! Knock it off, you jerk!
Little Wing shouted, planting herself between Silverbreeze and Misty Gust.
She's my friend!
Were you eavesdropping? That's not nice, you know.
Neither are you!
Little Wing shoved an accusatory hoof in his face.
Hey, don't talk to me like that, the colt demanded. Or is it because you have a famous sister that you can do whatever you like now? What's Dash got to do with anything?
Pfft, figures you're too stupid to figure it out, Silverbreeze commented, making Little Wing's feathers stand on end in frustration.
Oh well, not like it matters. You'll never be as good as her anyway. Maybe, but who cares if I am?
Little Wing retorted.
No pony,
he replied smugly.
No pony will care about you in the slightest. It'll always be Rainbow Dash this and Rainbow Dash that. You'll be all alone, no pony to love you, and that really is sad.
Little Wing flinched.
Alone? Well, yeah. No pony would care for a loser lost in some pony else's shadow.
Nobody would care for you out there anyway, her father stated dismissively. Unless you do what we say, you'll always be alone.
I don't want to be alone. I just want some friends, Dad,
Emma retorted. Tough. Now sit down and keep to yourself.
But can't I at least go to the park?
How many times, Emma? Her father snapped. You're not going to school. You're not going to the park. Now be a good girl before you find yourself somewhere bad with nobody to love you. His words stung, but only because she was there already.
Shut up!
Little Wing bellowed out, holding back tears. Silverbreeze flinched back as Little Wing flared out her wings aggressively, one hoof raised in preparation to strike at the offending colt.
Whoa, what's going on here?
Rainbow Dash asked, trotting over to the pair. The volatile tension between the two was obvious a mile away.
She's crazy! She was going to hit me!
Silverbreeze accused, pointing a hoof at the filly in question.
You were being a jerk!
Misty Gust spoke up, coming to her friend's aid.
Was not!
Rainbow Dash looked between the two as she was joined by Scootaloo. studying the colt before noticing that her little sister was completely still and with tears in her eyes. Rainbow Dash glared at Silverbreeze.
Listen, kid, I think you better scram. Now.
Silverbreeze relented under the harsh glare, holding no delusions that he could tussle with a Wonderbolt. Yes, ma'am. In a moment, he and his entourage were gone, Rainbow Dash glaring at where they had scampered off to. Meanwhile, Scootaloo crouched down and spoke to Little Wing.
Hey, Wing? You okay? Come on, you can talk to me. Scoots, can you go fetch one of the teachers?
Rainbow suddenly requested.
Yeah, sure.
Scootaloo confirmed as she got back up to her hooves, albeit hesitantly.
I'll be right back.
Once Scootaloo too had departed, Rainbow Dash lay down beside her little sister and gave her a gentle nudge. The filly responded with a small glance, but then looked back towards the floor and kept her gaze locked on a single random tuft of cloud.
Little Wing, what was that about?
Rainbow Dash asked.
What did he say?
Little Wing once again refused to answer, but Misty Gus did.
He was being really mean to us,
Misty explained quickly.
He said I was lonely and then told Little Wing that no pony cares about her when she helped me.
Misty Gus' gaze too became downcast after she had said that, scuffing a hoof along the ground guiltily. Rainbow pushed down her own seething at seeing the filly's sadness.
Are you alright?
Misty sniffled.
It's my fault. She was only trying to help me. Hey, it's not your fault at all,
Rainbow Dash assured the filly.
So don't blame yourself for something like this, okay?
Misty Gus sniffled before suddenly grabbing Little Wing into a tight hug.
Thank you for helping me.
That finally got a reaction from the blue filly, who looked towards her friend in surprise.
You're thanking me? Well, you did stick up for her,
Rainbow pointed out. Misty still clamped tightly onto Little Wing.
But Little Wing, were you really going to hit him?
Little Wing was compelled into silence once more. Rainbow Dash sighed, knowing the answer was yes.
You know I'm all up for sticking up for yourself. But you can't be doing that stuff in school. I don't want you to get in trouble for what somebody else was doing.
Little Wing nodded weakly. Rainbow's sigh was doubled.
Listen, you want to talk about this some more? Can we wait until we get home?
Rainbow Dash grimaced, but nevertheless nodded in the affirmative.
Alright.